Tell everyone what you've just done, you imbecile.
Well, look, we've been talking for a good 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and
it was flowing beautifully.
It was flowing beautifully, and I've realised I didn't press the record button.
You idiot.
I can't. Oh, you're off your head, Dad. What have you been on the pingers or something?
Yeah. Now I know how my sons feel towards me, but I'm not that stupid.
Sorry, guys. We'll have to start again.
Start again. Introduce Jimmy.
Gary Jack, welcome to Undergrowth, mate. How you going?
Yes, good to be here, Eric. Thanks, mate.
No worries.
Is it recording?
Yes, recording now. I've got the big red button on. I can see it. It's beautiful.
Well, we were just talking earlier about some of the characters in the side that you grew up and played most of your career in. We were talking about Blocker Roach and Wayne Junior Pearce being one of the fitter guys, eating banana sandwiches all day. And Mick Neal, one of my favourites, who I used to see at Coogee Palace there having a beer in the later years. And we're just talking about the two porn stars, Kerry Hemsley and Kevin Hardwick. And you were saying that they're polar opposites despite their style looking similar.
Yeah, look, Kerry was very much the extrovert. He was always had an opinion on everything from politics through to sport to rugby. Had a huge opinion on rugby league and coaching. He always had the answers for everything in the world. Was Kerry, and a really funny fella. He was a lot smarter than what people gave him credit for. And Kevin was very much a very humble type of guy. You know, you'd give him a job to do, and he'd say, "Yep." He wouldn't say too much. He'd just go out there and do it. Like his actions spoke louder than his words. And they're both. Kevin was a very, very fit guy. He worked very hard. His footy. He's very diligent in everything that he did. He's a successful electrical contractor outside of football. Since football's finished, he's really done really well. He lives over the northern beaches there.
I used to look at them too and think, like, they do everything together. They get dressed together. They do their hair together. They ride bikes together. They're in the same porn films together. It's funny to hear that they're polar opposites. It's just funny the perception you get from the outside looking in.
I actually bumped Kerry about a month and a half ago at a function at Campbelltown, and we spoke for a fair while. It was really good to see him. And he, as you said, Jimmy, he's smart. He's a smart fella. He talks really smart. He's got a real. He holds himself really well.
He doesn't drink anymore too, which that also helps.
Okay.
You never much of a drinker, Jimmy?
No, I wasn't much of a drinker. Well, I wasn't much of a good drinker. No.
No, you couldn't hold yourself.
No. So I knew my limits. So I wasn't. Now I'd probably have a few beers with your father.
A few.
Leading up to the game, but not as the general rule. No, I wasn't. What do you mean a few?
A few. 3. You had 3.
3.
Dad, I don't know if you can find the footage to put it up as we're speaking, but there's footage of you making a break, Dad, and then Jimmy comes across in cover defence and gets a beautiful tackle around your legs. I think he tackles you out over touch, and you turn around and say something with a dirty big grin on your head. Is it true that you spoke to each other on the day of that game?
Yeah, we did actually. Well, not on the day, but the week leading up, we always we used to obviously talk a fair bit in the New South Wales camps and stuff like that. But we used to say that when we play each other, if someone makes a break, then we should let them through to score a try, and that's what I was hoping Jimmy was going to do, because we spoke the week leading up to that game, and I made a break, and he tackled me. He didn't let me through.
Oh, reneged.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jimmy.
It was the score was 32-0 or something, Eric. Eric Jr. and they just absolutely destroyed us at Parramatta Stadium. I think it was 86 when the stadium opened. I think it was, and someone decided to do a short kickoff to the winger, and Eric Senior was being marked by Russell Gartner, and I'm at halfway in the middle of the field. And he did a short kick. I think it might have been Gary Freeman. And as he got the ball, he just swatted Russell Gartner out of the way. Get out of the way, old man. And before I knew it, he was streaking down the touchline at a rate of knots, and I'm coming across in cover from halfway. So I sort of had him pegged because, he only had one way to go. He could only ever go to the sideline. It was a copybook tackle, and everyone was clapping that it was a try saver. It would have been, 32 to 4. That's all it would. So it would have been 36-0. You know,
aren't they awful times when you just start? They put 3 or 4 quick tries on you, and you just standing behind the post, just going, "Get me out of here."
Yeah. Eric, we had many nightmare days against Parramatta from 82 to 86 till Cronin and Price left. It was absolute.
Yeah, what was that about, Jimmy? We did have the wood on you for whatever reason. So what was it like, sort of leading up to playing?
Well, it wasn't no good being a fullback, Eric. Let me tell you.
No, but there was something there, was it? You guys just couldn't get us.
No, we just couldn't. We couldn't hold you. We couldn't hold. You know, as soon as it. Yeah, we sort of held you in the forward pack, but you know, with Roachy and Ciro was there and Piercy and those sort of guys. But as soon as they went, Sterling, Kenny, freaking Cronin, Zip Man, Hunt, Lydiard, it was just all over.
They all hogged it.
Yeah, they all hogged it, and they just really, I think the difference was, look, you blokes outright benefited so much by number 7, number 6. They were just like one in every 50-year players.
They contributed every now and then. True.
Yeah. Oh, then you had Mick Cronin, who's probably the greatest centre of all time. Or I rate him up there, the greatest centre of all time.
Yeah.
So it was an absolute nightmare once they started throwing the ball around, and Kenny and Cronin and then Zip Man, and then you at the end. Just many bad days, and
we were talking before about
showing up at once.
We were talking before about the difference in like the game when you guys were playing, and then to when I was playing, and then now today. What do you see the main difference is? For me, like there's a real lack of character and individuality, and that's just, it's kind of a bit of a compliment, backhanded compliment to today's game, because everyone's such an athlete across the board. The skill set is getting closer and closer to each team and each individual, that now there's no one that really stands out like back in the day when you had your blockers and Mick Neals and
it's clinical, isn't it? It's really clinical now.
Yeah, it's clinical. It's hard for me to watch because it looks like I'm watching the same game each week in regards to what their game plans are. Then, like you said before, Dad, press record. You were like really into watching individual teams like do their own style of football. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I really, it's a bit boring about the game today, is I love watching ball players, whether the ball player's a halfback or he's a front rower. And I love watching players like, obviously, Steve Roach was probably the next best thing to Arthur Beetson. Great ball players who can create something from nothing. And I think we've lost that out of the game. And it's players like that you go, wow, what did I just see then? You don't see it very often these days. It's been drilled out of them. But to see a great ball player, particularly in the forwards, at the line, holding back the pass or putting someone inside or outside, that's the sort of play that we did back in the 80s, whether it be, we call it a 10 ball off you at the outside shoulder, or a strain with one on the inside. Those sorts of plays, it's missing, and I think that's the individuality that you're talking about, Eric, that we had, which is sadly they're all the similar sort of block players today, and they're all athletes, but playing football is not about being an athlete. It's about there's more to it than just that.
Yes, well, mate, I find it hard. I find it hard to watch the game. I find myself now on a Friday night, or if I'm sitting and watching a Sunday afternoon or whatever, I actually flick the channels and check other things out, and then come back to the game eventually. But depending on how the game's going and who's playing and all that sort of stuff. And I loved this year watching the Roosters play, and my team end up winning the comp, which I was pretty happy about.
Are you serious?
I've always been a Rooster. You know that, Jimmy? What?
You're a Rooster?
Long time.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, should you?
What about your tours, boys? You guys on your tours, you used to tear in and get away with a lot more than today's tourers do. I remember when I went on my only tour, which was 2005, it was still, it was just starting to become really intense with media scrutiny, and they were just, it was like on the borderline of that old school kind of get away with anything kind of mentality. And then it started to morph into, like, we'd come home from a night out in Leeds and we'd walk into the foyer and there'd be 4 or 5 journos just sitting there at like 3, 4 in the morning, just waiting with a pen and pad ready ready to attack. Absolutely. But you guys used to go out with the reporters and they'd look after you in the media if someone, spewed or weed in public or something that wouldn't be front page news.
They did in '82. Yeah, the journos used to drink with us. I'm not sure what happened in '86. Jimmy, what was it like then?
Oh well, I think there was a sort of, dare I say, a code of conduct or like the journalists
unwritten laws type thing.
Yeah, and you're right. I remember having a drink with Phil Rothfield or someone like that, or Jeff Prenner or someone like that.
Yep.
They in those days they got close to the players because they wanted to know obviously what was going on. But if something happened, they wouldn't report it. Because they knew that if they if the wrong thing was reported, that obviously they wouldn't get access to the players. But the whole world's changed now.
Mobile phones, the cameras on mobile phones, it's all so accessible, and all the social media, everything just ends up there somewhere along the line.
It was a great era. Sort of State of Origin started, with your dad and me, we were roomies for 3 or 4 years there, and that sort of bonding and mateship, which I'm glad to have been a part of State of Origin in the '80s because it's a fantastic game, and just to be there at like the birth of Origin when New South Wales, like we were in the cyber when New South Wales had their first victory in 85. When we beat them at the SCG, and we saw all of a sudden we thought we'd sort of cracked it. We knew that mateship, you just don't turn up the day before the game and go in overnight and play. It was that week leading up to it. It's friendships that you make along the way, like yourself and like Bert and Sterlo and blokes from other clubs who you would never have played with, and it's that's the great thing about that era is that Chrissy Mortimer, Stevie Mortimer, that we're all in Michael O'Connor, we're all on the same team for about 4 or 5 years, and we become very, very good mates, and it was a great backbone for that New South Wales Australian side touring side, and we all enjoyed each other's company. We all sort of grew up together, really. We were all sort of young blokes, maybe 22, 23 at that stage, and that's the benefit of it, and it's the friendships that you make along the way, and that's really special.
What about the first 3 days of the week in camp? Would be just we wouldn't surface until 3 days. We'd just drink, and we wouldn't see the football until the 4th day.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it was just it was a lot of fun, but it was hard to remember some of
it. I remember we used to play cards. I remember playing cards, and Sterlo was a big card player, and Royce Simmons was a big card player, and we played cards one day, and I wasn't much of a card player, but I had a bit of a crack, and we played a bit of luck, and I had a bit of luck, and all of a sudden we had to go to lunchtime. Sterlo wanted to go for lunch, and I'm $800 up. 800.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And they were absolutely spewing Sterlo.
Jimmy, as your roomie, I didn't see any of that $800. How long was that going on for?
No, it was just a golden touch I was in, and so it was up in Queensland where we stayed at the Travelodge there. So being frugal with my money, we've had the lunch and I've come back and the fellas are there for the game of cards, and I've walked into the room afterwards. After lunch, I walked in with my brand new Pierre Cardin underpants, my brand new grey leather shoes, and my brand new Mickey Moto pearls around my neck, which I purchased with the $800 at lunchtime.
You bought pearls for around your neck? Are you serious?
For my wife, yes.
Oh, right. That's better.
And, well, you should have seen Sterlo and Royce Simmons. They were absolutely livid. Absolutely livid. It's great memories like that stay with you.
Yeah, that's always the thing, isn't it? When you're new at something like the cards and stuff like that. I had that bit of luck like that playing cards once. Yeah. And
I remember once you weren't there because you didn't go on the tour in '86, did you?
No.
Yeah, you didn't go. Well, it was after the first test. We went to some pub, and the boys having a few beers and they're playing drinking games as you do, and they decided that Michael O'Connor said, "I've got a game. We can put a blindfold around your eyes. You can put a teaspoon in your mouth, and we've got to hit each other over the head." So Snoz and Sterlo were doing this, and there was this bloke called Lenny was there, and he saw it. He said, "Oh, this is good." So Michael would hit him over the head with the teaspoon, and then Sterlo would have a go at Michael. And so Lenny wanted to have a go. So Snoz was pulled out and Lenny's jumped in with Sterlo. And I've walked around behind the back of Lenny. And he's there, he's got his blindfold on. He wanted to hit Sterlo over the head. And he said, so Sterlo goes, it's my go now. And I've got up on my toes and I've hit Lenny with I had a metal ladle in my hand. A big spoon. It wasn't a spoon, it was bigger than a teaspoon. And I've just put him on the floor, poor bugger. He didn't know what hit him. And then he's got up, he's looked at Sterlo, he took his blindfold off. And Sterlo's still got the teaspoon in his mouth. He said, you want to go again? So he went again, and I've hit him again, and they've gone, Jimmy, you can't keep doing that. You can't do that. But that's the sort of fun you get up to on tour, you know, which is some great memories, which
Jimmy,
you had to be there.
How did you go then from, you coached over in England, so how did you go from that player thing to coach, to be the leader and to, not to muck around and play cards, obviously, and win $800?
Yeah.
But how was that transition? Yeah. How was that change for you?
Yeah, that was difficult. That was a difficult time. I was still playing. I was a player coach there for 1 year.
Oh, yeah.
For my first year at Salford. I always wanted to coach, and I was 33, 34 at the time. I wanted to coach, and there was an opportunity, so I took it. And then the second year I just coached. I didn't play, but the one thing I realised from coaching, which is a very good lesson, which I always tell people, the secret to coaching is to keep the 3 blokes that like you away from the 10 that hate you.
Okay.
Yeah. Or is it the other way around?
Yeah.
The 10 blokes that aren't sure and the 3 blokes that hate you, you've got to keep them away from each other.
Either way would work. Yeah.
What about was it 89, the grand final? Was it 89, 88?
You had to bring that up, didn't you?
Yeah, I know. Well, I was going to, because I can relate, because I feel like that our 2009 team, we had that similar kind of worldwide support, rugby league worldwide support from everyone. Every other fan kind of wanted us to beat the dirty Melbourne Stormers, and it was similar in regards to everyone wanted the Tigers. I remember watching, I was the biggest Tigers fan ever that day, and it was just heartbreaking for me to see the result of that after having looking like he's were going to win it for a while. Obviously a tough memory, like it is for me with the 2009 one, Jimmy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Tough memory, Eric. Yeah, it was. I knew you were going to bring this up at some stage.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
A little bit of a history. Like we'd never lost to Canberra in 11 games since they come in '82.
Wow.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say we were overconfident, but we were the first ones in the grand final. They come from, I think they won 11 to get to the grand finals, but they were on the improve. But we thought, we beat them twice during the year. We haven't lost to them in 7 years. So and even look, we didn't play well on the day. We did not play well on the day. We got a lucky try from James Grant, picked up an intercept and scored in the corner, and then the freakish try that Paul Sirian called off a Andy Courier kick, which was an incredible try, length of the field one. That was, yeah, so we were very fortunate to lead 12-2 at half time, but and then in that second half, Mickey Neal was in the clear. We had a move called crash where Steve Roach hits it up, Garry Freeman comes around, and there's Bruce Maguire, and I'm there outside Bruce Maguire's hip, and Mickey Neal's outside me. So as Freeman's come around, he's thrown it across. Meninga's come up because he saw me outside Brucey Maguire, so he's come up to smash me. But all of a sudden, Freeman threw it in front of us to Meggsy Neal. Then all of a sudden, Meninga realised that Mickey Neal was in the clear, and he was only 5 metres out from the try line. So Big Mal absolutely, he said he just turned with his hand as desperate as he could to try and tackle Mickey Neal. He clipped him on the ankles and brought Mickey Neal down.
Yeah,
with his head on the try line in the '89 grand final. Yeah, that's as close as he got. And then obviously, the coach Warren takes off Blocker and Big Ciro with 20 to go, which is ridiculous. You just don't do that.
There was those defining moments there. Benny Elias's drop kick, didn't it? Hit the crossbar.
Yep.
Bounced back.
Hit the crossbar, and he kicked a lot of goals during the year. I think he kicked 20 odd during the year. So he's hit the crossbar from 10 yards out right in front.
Yep.
So in the end, everything sort of, and obviously there's always the turning point of when Bruce Maguire got penalised for using Steve Walters as a shepherd when he was playing the ball.
That's right.
But the rule doesn't exist, so Harrigan just made it up. for whatever reason, and that turned the momentum of the game because they kicked out from there, and then Gary Belcher scored a try to put them back in the game at 12-8 with 15 to go.
I think I remember you bumped Billy Harrigan. I think I was there. You asked him the questions about those particular decisions on those days. What does he say?
Yes. He reckoned it was a penalty. Yeah. He said, it's not in the right ethos of the game, not the right spirit of the game. I said, well, it doesn't exist. The rule doesn't exist. It did never exist. You made it up. And Wayne Pearce is of the opinion, he's probably right, that Harrigan put the wrong arm up because clearly Steve Walters was offside and he should have been penalised for offside. Yeah. And he's put the wrong arm up, and Bill, being who Bill is, would never admit he made a mistake. And he left his arm there for Canberra to get the penalty.
Mm. Mate, away from rugby league, what do you do these days? What's Garry Jack doing these days?
Well, away from rugby league, I work for the TAB. I'm a New South Wales TAB sort of ambassador. I go to all the I train the people that download the mobile app onto your iPhones.
Oh yeah.
And go to venues, organise the training, organise the schedules for them, and that's a pretty good job. Yeah, it keeps me pretty busy.
Yeah, cool.
From Monday to Friday.
Yep.
Tab's a very good company. So if you haven't got the Tab app, you should download the Tab app. It's one of the best apps out there if you want to have a punt from the.
If I download it, will you give me some free cash to be able to bet?
No,
free cash.
Free cash.
Useful, Eric.
And Jimmy,
what you open the account up, that might be a different story, but you can't do that.
No, of course not.
Yeah. So I do that, and one of my big loves, Eric, is I'm a big Ju Jitsu fan.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I'm bloody obsessed with the MMA, the UFC in particular, and it's so prevalent the Ju Jitsu. Yeah. And a lot of times, if you're not strong in Ju Jitsu, then even the best strikers, they get tapped out.
Yep, that's it. Yes, that's exactly right, Eric. It's a Ju Jitsu. So I train a couple of times a week, 2 or 3 in our club, and I've always been a sort of martial artist. I don't know, probably since about 2001. I think I started. So I enjoy training there. That keeps me pretty busy, and it's the UFC it's a great spectacle, but it's a good grounding for all those guys. Is their jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, definitely. Craig Fitzgibbon, the Roosters assistant coach and former player, he's right into his jiu-jitsu too. He in the city there goes to, I can't remember what the gym's called, but
he goes
Larry.
I think it's with George. Is it George or
Larry? They call him. Yeah, George. His nickname's Larry, but they call him. Yeah, his name's George.
He trains with my son. My son's he's a blue belt. He's a purple belt. He trains there with him, Craig Fitzgibbon's. He lives in the city, and so he's been there about 4 or 5 years, and he trains with him. So I've heard Fitzy. He likes his jiu-jitsu, so we'll have to have a wrestle one day.
Well, listen to your fighters. I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah, I'm not a fighter, but I just love watching it. It's the ultimate test to walk into a ring and have your whole family and the whole world and your whole nation and whatever area from watching you and supporting you, to put all that on the line. It's no wonder a lot of them are a bit crazy. Like it spins me out at how big a moment some of them fights are. It's huge.
I think their personalities and that that one-on-one sport where you can't hide anywhere, and you once you're out in the ring, you've got to do the fight. I think leading up to that sort of stuff, they got to have these big personalities to cover their nerves a little bit, I think.
Yeah. It's difficult. It's a very hard sport. And also you've got to be very intelligent too, because there's so many different moves. It's not just punching or striking with your fists. You've also got leg locks, ankle locks, heel locks, knee bars as well. So you tackle parts of the body, and it is a great sport. It's great for confidence, and it's great for young guys if the little guys can beat the bigger guys. Just taking them to the ground, and it's been a great part of my life for probably 16, 17 years now. I've been training, so it's
what made you get into that, Jim?
As you get older, keeps the aches and pains away a bit, and it still keeps you fit, which is good because I've always enjoyed being fit, and and you still got that camaraderie and mateship that we had in Origin, in a club. So I don't compete in that sort of stuff. I just train. So it's a lot of fun.
What made you get into that?
When Kieran was about 14, I think, at that stage, and so what's that? 2001. So I sold a bloke's house, and we just talked about our two sons, and he wasn't very big, and he said, "Well, there's a sport called Ju Jitsu. It's the best martial arts out there. If you want to learn how to defend, don't do Taekwondo or don't do karate. This is better." I never heard of it before. Yep. So he said, "I'll give you a bloke's number, and you can have a chat, and you can take your son along to him." So he gave me the number, and I gave him a call, and he lived up in Jura, which is only 10 minutes from where I live.
Yep.
So we used to train his garage. So I took Kieran along there at 14, and I'd go along, and then I'd joined in, and then from there, Kieran stopped after about 2 or 3 years. I just kept training and kept training. So it was for him originally to defend himself, but then I saw the benefits and I stuck with it.
Which brings me to the famous story of we play those Wally Lewis those fundraising games, celebrity games. Yeah, and they I remember one night we were out having a few drinks, and I left the party early, and I went we were rooming together, obviously, and I went back, and it was about midnight or something. So I'd had enough. I'd had a belly full, so I went home to do some stretches and think about the game that we're going to play, and fell asleep. And you got home at about 2:00. You walked into the room and noticed that I was there on the bed. So you've jumped onto me straight away and started putting me in a some sort of a hold and trying to break my neck. And then we had this almighty wrestle for about 10 minutes. Remember that?
That sounds like sex.
No, it's when I almighty wrestle. Yeah, that sounds like.
No, I think you provoked me, Eric. I think you provoked me. Yeah.
Well, that snore would provoke anyone. I would have frigging come in and put him in an ankle lock while you had him around the neck.
Well, how can I provoke when all I was doing was I was asleep, and then Jimmy had a few extra sherbets than I did, and bang, we're into this wrestle.
I was just doing, Eric. It was only a few. That was 10 years ago, a long time ago.
Mate,
I was just sort of pressure testing the jiu-jitsu to see if it worked.
It worked all right. I was fucked,
and I was quite impressed that it did work against someone who's your size and your strength. So mate, I was just giving a good bit of a workout.
You did, mate. You did. I found it hard to sort of overpower you in any way, but I was that fucked. That buggered me the next day too. But I couldn't get back to sleep, and I was just panting and carrying on. But you handled it okay.
I think I had you in a triangle choke. That's where I had you actually from memory. And that what's not too good for you, but it was all right.
You should have kept choking. You should have kept choking. No, it's scary. I've had a bloke. I'm a lot bigger than him, but he just showed me a couple of like holds, and mate, it doesn't matter what size you are. If they get you in that hold, you're going to sleep, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Well, I was asleep, but I woke up, so it wasn't a real good sleep hold.
It wasn't a wake hold.
You carried on like a big sook too. You did. You carried like a big sook.
Well, you woke me up, and I was in dreamland. I was having nice dreams, and you just...
I just remember you trying to bloody get on top of me for whatever reason, and that's when the triangle choke came out.
Yes.
How come when you write stuff on a computer, you always use lowercase letters? That means...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, he's spelling a problem there. Correcting him forever.
So what do you use, Jimmy? Just all capital letters. I hate that.
No.
Yeah, it's not someone's yelling at you.
Capital G for names and capital J for another name. I don't do
proper English that he uses. Proper English.
Yeah, proper English, not Swahili English.
Swahili, yeah.
Yeah. So, what was the first question? What are your thoughts on Donald Trump?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, you like him? He's different, isn't he?
A lot of people are scared to say that, aren't they? Because it's not, he's not considered politically correct in a politically correct age. And when you say you like Donald Trump, some people's faces, but he's just refreshing to watch opposed to the typical politician. At least he just kind of says what he's thinking. Yeah,
there's no rhetoric. Yeah. He doesn't read anything that's been written for him. He's just off the top. Yeah.
Well, he must be doing a good job because, a lot of people voted for him. So
that's right. That's right.
It's a democracy, and if the numbers weren't there, he wouldn't have got the job in the first place.
Yeah, a lot more people support him than you hear about because they're embarrassed to say it. That's right. And it's met with a lot of backlash if you do say it. But I think,
Correct.
Yeah, generally, like when you look at all the stats in regards to the economy, like he can't really say. Even the left, the people who are against him, they all say that that he's got the economy right at least. And they're also not big fans of the way he speaks and the looks and the way he carries himself and some of his past.
Yeah.
Economy or schmonomy. What about the human element?
Yeah. What about it?
I was trying to get deep there, but no one sort of carried on. Thanks. And also, mate, at home, do you vote Liberal or Labor?
That's a very personal question.
I don't care. What do you vote, Labor or
Liberal
Liberal?
voter.
A Liberal?
Yep.
Get out.
Yep. Are you Labor, Dad?
No, I don't know. I'm not anyone these days, really.
Yeah, it's changed a lot from what it used to be. Yeah.
Everyone always says Johnny Howard was the best Prime Minister. I was too young to know what he did, but
he seemed to go pretty good. Yeah,
he was very good. Yeah. As you get older, you learn a bit more about politics, but
I don't think personally that either party makes any difference to what me, you, and Jimmy are doing.
Trump
I
probably
don't
changed that.
Eric. I don't agree with that. I think they do, but
Well, don't start. I'll rest.
Don't start a debate.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of difference between Labor and Liberal. Yeah.
Oh, there is generally speaking, yeah, but I don't think we feel it at our end. What the difference is, but anyway, that's it.
Yeah. I think if Labor were in charge, they'd have the gates would be open and everyone would be here.
Oh yeah, there's that. There's that element.
That concerns me. Yeah, that concerns me a lot. We want to keep this great country that we've got, for our kids.
Yep.
And keep it, without changing demonstrably over the next 5 years with millions coming in here. We don't need that.
It's funny. It's funny how if you say that you support like strong border protection, strong border policies, that you'd be considered racist. It's got nothing to do with that.
It's nothing to do with. That's right.
You can come to Australia and you go into America, do it legally and qualify without jumping the fence, and the child trafficking stats are just horrific. It's incredible.
We should be able to select who's going to come to the country. It's not all nations. It's what made this country great was the fact that
it has walls,
border protections for 150 years.
Yeah.
So we want to keep it that way.
Beautiful. What are your thoughts on climate change, Jimmy?
I don't believe in it.
You don't think there's what humans do to the earth changes the aspect of the weather?
I think it's always been around. I think it's not going to make a great deal of difference. We'll put it this way, whatever we produce in this country, 0.02%, and then you've got China and you've got India who have got, they've all got the coal fire stations and they're pumping it out, building stations, power stations every week they're opening, and we're shutting them down here and losing jobs. Mm. And they're going gangbusters over there using our coal. So, I don't think they're concerned about the world. So, I'm sure the world will be okay. But, it's I think it's just it's not all it's made out to be.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's funny. I started looking into it a little bit, and a lot of the people who drill into the centre of the earth, like in the ice caps, and they drill, in the middle of the ground, those big holes you see sometimes in the National Geographic photos when they go down as far as they can to the core of the earth. And most of those people don't believe in climate change simply because all the tests and experiments they run suggest that the world was changing regardless. And our footprint, although it's not bad, it's not a great thing to pollute the environment you live in, and it's not good for the air. It's not having the impact that people are making out. And a lot of them say that they wish they thought of what that Al Gore did first with that Inconvenient Truth and that whole movement, because he made millions and millions of dollars from it, when it really is just a load of bullshit. But that's one side of it. I'm sure there's an argument against that.
No, there is. But I mean, if we're all going to do it, Eric, we're all going to do it together. What we do in Australia by shutting down the coal power stations is we're doing our bit. But I mean, seriously, if China and India and other countries are opening them up, and the cheap power is most important. Power prices have gone through the roof in Australia, and when we produce the stuff, it just doesn't. Yeah, it just doesn't. Is wind the answer? Well, I don't know if wind is the answer.
Yeah, it's over the top. Actually, I was driving back from a couple of gigs on the weekend. We were driving from Orange, and we went the back way to Lithgow, and there was a couple of those coal power stations there. They're big, monstrous things, and then in contrast, just before those, the big wind farms.
Yeah.
Where they had the big, what do you call them?
Those big white things.
Yeah. There's about 100 of them all scattered over this about 100 acres or so forth.
Terrible.
From there, we went to the to see the coal power stations, and it was just a big contrast. But who knows? It's hard to determine whether all this smog and everything that gets put into the atmosphere is changing. Yeah. As you said, Eric, there's the history and the science history is that there's been warmer periods than we're having at this point years and years ago. Yep. So
the world's always changing, Eric. It's always changing and always has done, and will continue to for eons. Yeah.
Jimmy, is the Earth flat or is it a globe?
You're a wink at that.
It's a standard question.
Yeah, this is.
You mean is it round?
Is it round or is it flat? Have you seen the flat Earth movement? There's plenty of it on YouTube.
No.
But it's a hot topic at the moment.
What is it? Are we going back 500 years or something? What's happening? What's it? Vasco da Gama or something? Who do you think you are? You know.
I think there's a massive movement at the moment. It's called they're called flat earthers, and people believe that the Earth is flat, and there's no actual evidence for a round Earth. And all those photos are CGI that NASA used to put out in public, and we don't actually have a photo of the actual globe as one from a distance. It's all made up from many different photos, which NASA kind of admits. So there's this big conspiracy now that the Earth's not a round planet that's holding water in a sphere, and we're shooting through the sky at 1,000 miles per hour, rotating around the sun.
Oh, they're mad. They're mad.
All right, Jimmy. And last question, mate. What do you see yourself doing in 10 years' time? Where do you see yourself?
Hopefully I'll be retired in 10 years' time. Mm-hmm. Kicking back, want to play a bit of golf when I retire. That's why I wanted to play a bit of golf and go on a few trips.
Nice.
Go on a few trips. Overseas, that'd be good, yeah. So
how do you
do that in 10 years' time?
How do you hit them?
I'll be happy. I got potential. I used to, when I was a little fella, I was off, when I was 15, 16, I was off 6 handicap.
Wow.
So I should be able to pick it up again. Shouldn't take too long.
Hey, Jimmy, what about old injuries? Is there anything that still bugs you today that you hurt yourself during playing footy?
Worst thing I've got, Eric, I've got a bung little finger on my left finger.
That's the worst looking finger I've ever seen.
I don't know why, but I know about this. It must have been talked about somewhere before. I've seen it. Yeah.
It's the same as Hindy and Fletch. It's the same as Fletcher's finger.
Yeah, right. Geez, that's like a right angle.
Yeah, it's at right angles. Yeah. Which I've got actually tackling Steve Roach at training, so that wasn't real good, was it?
What about my stud marks on your face? Are they still there?
I've got that.
Oh, you were wearing rubbers, I think, that day.
Yeah, right next to the choke marks that you've got around your neck, Dad, from Jimmy.
That doesn't sound good. Rubbers, and then neck marks.
Hey, it's protection, man. Use protection.
Yeah. No, mate. No, I've probably got a couple of concussions from bloody trying to tackle you, but then I tried to take your head off one day, and hopefully I got even with you.
Thanks for that. I was good looking before that.
Yeah. I've never seen a bloke ready to play a game. You and Chicka Ferguson would sit down and have a sleep together. It's just ridiculous.
Well, you guys are going silly, sort of grabbing each other and smacking each other, and we'd have a bit of a rest.
South Wales backline, you and Chicka would have a snooze over in the corner. It was like a love fest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, little Chicka and little Eric,
Who was the big spoon, Dad, you or Chicka?
He was a
big spoon.
I was a spooner.
Yep. Good stuff.
A spooner?
I was the spooner.
Yeah, you were the spoon, yeah. So
that was awesome, mate. Thanks very much for putting up
Jimmy.
with our technology issues.
That's okay, mate. And for the first 20 minutes, yes.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry about that, Jimmy.
Oh, that's
all those good
mate.
Stories that we could never repeat again. Lucky it cut out.
Yeah.
So how many people listen to this?
Thousands.
About four, mate. About 4
or 5 people.
Yeah.
No, we got I don't know. There seems to be a couple of thousand odd in circular regular listeners, and then we, depending on what we talk about and who we talk to and what headline we put. Yeah, we get a lot more. Sometimes
that's good.
So we should get about 6 people listening to you, Jimmy.
Yeah,
we'll drag a few extra in. Thanks for that.
But that's good, Eric. Like Eric and Eric, it's a good. People love to talk about the '80s. It's a great era. It's a great era.
Yeah.
And I know myself because I put stuff up on Facebook all the time, and that '80s era, was just with players and what we spoke about and characters, and
it's legendary, isn't it?
It's legendary.
Everyone, even blokes like much younger than even me. They always, when you post something about the '80s, it gets the most comments, the most shares, the most likes. It's really an era that will just live forever in rugby league folklore.
Yeah.
Jimmy?
It's funny how I've got in front of me, I've got here the tour to New Zealand 1985, the itinerary. And it's signed off by Mr. R.A. Abbott, National Secretary.
Fair dinkum.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Have you got a lot of memorabilia at home from the playing days?
I have actually, mate. Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff which I've kept,
That's good.
which I put up. I've got a lot of stuff, jerseys and a lot of jerseys, and I've got a lot of just stuff. I've got heaps of stuff. I bloody
gave to everything. I wish I kept more. I kept all my jerseys, but I gave away all the cool old retro training gear from the late '90s when I started playing. And I wish I bloody kept a lot of that stuff. It'd be collector's.
I've got a bag full of New South Wales and Australian shorts. Just a bag.
Yeah, I got a heap of shorts. Get back, Jimmy. You cut out for a moment there. All good, mate. Mate, thank you so much for joining us, mate. We appreciate it, mate. We've got to catch up for a golf game soon.
Yeah, we will do. Eric, it's been a pleasure. All the best with the future, guys. Thank you for the call, and I think you're doing a great job, and happy to help you out anytime in the future. Thank you, guys.
Champion. Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks a lot,
Jimmy.
Mate.
Thanks, Cheers. Thanks, Eric.
Cheers, mate.
See you, buddy.
Hey, guys. I just want to take this opportunity on behalf of Daniel and Eric to say thank you for your support over the years. We've been doing this undergrowth thing now for about 3.5 years, I think 4 years, and it's been a lot of fun. We sometimes are a little bit serious, but most of the time we have a bit of fun doing it. So we appreciate your support. We love all the likes on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube now. We'd love you to go over there now and subscribe whenever you get a chance and like the videos, and we'll continue doing this. So we appreciate your support very much. Thank you.